Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joe's Classic Video Games back with another cool pinball repair video for you this evening. We have been working on this super cool 1964 Bally Harvest pinball machine, and if you didn't see our two previous videos on it, you really missed out. We did one where we worked on the Playfield a little bit, got it cleaned up, and then we did one where we worked in the back box and we kind of focused on their thumper bumper control unit, which they use in these machines, Bally used, to change kind of the odds of getting a high score. So that was really interesting. If you didn't see that, go back and check it out. But we need to work on the electronics in the bottom of the game today. The thing is up and it's playing, but it's like it's frozen right now. It's just doing some weird stuff because we haven't cleaned or worked on any of the electromechanical parts in the bottom of the machine and the body of it. So that's today's stuff. Like I said, it's pretty much playing, but it's got issues. So the first thing we're going to do is pop up the Playfield and have a look at what's down in the body of the game. So here's what we're working with. It's actually in very nice shape, in my opinion. We're actually in the middle of a game right now, but it's kind of frozen from where we were testing it on the previous video. So we're just going to systematically work through all of these switches like we always do. Everything looks to be in good order. There's a bunch of relays over here. They might be misadjusted or dirty or something. And then you've got two control banks here. This one has to do with, there's a feature on this game where you can spell the word Bally and it makes different things happen. That's what that does. And then this is the one that has to do with starting the game. So there's the start relay, the reset relay, the game over relay. And it looks like there's a 1,000-point relay. And then, of course, you got your score motor. Again, this is a Bally. You've got a fuse block here that Joe replaced on the first video. This is your knocker and transformer that runs everything. And then there are three plugs back there that are the basically the wiring from the Playfield. This particular game has three pop bumpers. Everything looks clean underneath the Playfield, like hanging on the bottom of the Playfield. There's a couple relays down there. Maybe they have something to do with the pop bumpers. And then it has four kickers, which is kind of unique. So they designed it where there are four kickers down at the bottom of the Playfield. Kind of bounce the ball around a lot. And then the gameplay kind of has to do with you're hitting these little mushroom bumpers to turn on the letters B-A-L-L-Y, Bally. And that's about it. So there's not a lot to the game. But on the stuff underneath, on the bottom of the Playfield in particular, all looks almost new. I mean, it's all in really nice shape and it's just held up well over the years. The customer was telling us that his dad owned this game and operated it in a store. And whenever he was a little boy, he used to stand on a stool and play it. And he's had it for a long time. And his father's passed away, and he's getting it fixed up so that he can play it again. So that's what we're doing. So I think we'll turn it off. And the first thing I want to do, like always, or usually, is I'm going to clean the Jones plugs that plug the Playfield into the mech board on the bottom here. I've already cleaned the Jones plugs in the back box, but we'll clean those too and get that all nice. Alright, so we cleaned them up, but I went ahead and pulled the Playfield out of the cabinet so that we can more easily get to all of these switches. So I'm just going to start cleaning through these just to make sure they're all adjusted properly. I usually don't readjust them unless they're way off, but it's real easy to do. This one's a pretty good example. So you've got these four switches here on this relay. This one's closed, so when this relay pulls in, it should open. And see when it goes back how it's pushing the smaller blade up a little bit? That's perfectly adjusted. Okay, now this one is open, so when it pulls in, it should close. And see, it's pushing the smaller blade a little bit. Same here and same here. If you look, they're all working pretty good. So that one's properly adjusted, but it needs cleaned. So I'm going to use a little file
that not a really, you don't want anything that's got like a lot of grit on it, but I'm going to use a little flat file to clean off the contacts. It used to be the operators would tell you to do that with a piece of a business card, but in my opinion they're too dirty to do with a piece of a business card anymore. So I'm going to work through these. There's only 8 of them there, so it's really not that big of a deal. So I really didn't see anything out of the ordinary. The hold coil, or the lock coil, whatever it is, has a resistor on it so that it doesn't burn up. Let's see if we can tell which one it is. Should say in there. Is that the tilt, actually? Does that say tilt? I believe so. It's the tilt coil. So the tilt coil has a resistor in line to it. But they actually all look pretty good. Some of them have lost their wrapper, but they don't look burnt up or anything. So they probably work. And remember, we already played it a little bit on the previous video. Now, this game has this feature where you can spell different words. So you can, it says Bally, B-A-L-L-Y in the middle of the playfield. So you can spell all, A-L-L. You can spell ball, B-A-L-L. You can spell alley, A-L-L-Y, or you can spell Bally. So it's just got a bunch of different stuff that it does regarding those letters. And so there's this separate little relay bank here to make all that happen. So I cleaned all of those switches. It's the same thing, you know, they're just really dirty and they'll be corroded black basically from all the oxidation over the years. You got to get them nice and shiny again. And then this one is the little relay bank that runs the game. So there's the start relay, the reset relay, the game over relay, and then they've thrown a 1,000 point relay, which I guess is what turns on this little light up here whenever you get to 1,000 points. The jury's still out on what turns on these pumpkins on the side, but we got some of that to happen on the previous video. I don't really know what they're doing, but somehow that happens. It must be on the advanced unit or something. Okay, and then it has a score motor unit. I cleaned all of them too. The only thing significant I saw about that is that this is a brake. So it's just a little metal piece that sticks out and it hits a little bar that goes down through the plates. If you see that rivet, there is a bar from there to the bottom. And so it's bending this little brake out. When you get past it, right, it goes back. So the purpose of it is to make the thing stop on the home position each time, just to kind of help break it. But they break a lot of times, so it looks like this one is probably broken in half at some point. And then somebody soldered it back together and then put some tape over it to make it smooth. But I don't see anything wrong with that, so we'll just leave it like that. So everything cleaned up. All of the switches seem to open and close when they should. I took these 2 fuses out, made sure they were the right value, tightened up the fuse holders and put them back in, so that's all cool. So there's just not a ton inside this one. It's a fairly simple game, with the exception of that Bally part there. So I'm going to put the playfield back in it and we'll look at the stuff on the bottom of the playfield. So here is the underside of the playfield. We looked at this in a previous video. It's very clean. You know, as far as hasn't been hacked or anything, it's all kind of how it originally was. The flipper coils on pinball machines have 2 windings. They have a regular winding that, pow, knocks the ball up, and then they have a hold winding that adds in so that it basically makes it where you don't burn up the flipper whenever you hold it on. So these are, I believe, called, or are they parallel wound? Or I think they're parallel wound and the other ones are series wound. So they just look a little different, but coils, a lot of people think if you replace the coil, it's going to make the flippers work better. It don't work like that. Either the coils work or they don't work. Sometimes you can have one that's physically damaged because it's overheated, which would make it where the plunger didn't move through it as well. But I got to tell you, if you look at how these first of all, these are linear plungers. There's no link, which on this particular design means there's not going to be much wear. Watch the wear between this plunger and this pawl. Watch when I move the pawl. See how it's directly
there's no wear. I mean, there's no wear at all. So you could replace these if you wanted, but you're not really going to get much benefit out of it. Look at that. There is no wiggle at all in that. So just no wear at all. You could replace the metal sleeve in this coil, but I don't know if this coil is going to fall apart if you knock that metal sleeve out. That would be the first thing I'd do, though. I'd change that for a nylon sleeve. But we're going to play it first just to see how well it plays with it set up the way that it is. They're the little 2-inch flippers, so they've never been real strong anyway. It's not the point on these old ones. Now the coils here on the kickers are a little more like the ones that you see more often, but you know, they're the little bobbin or whatever is a little different. These mount different than the more modern ones. A customer came in. Okay, so I went through and all of the switches are well adjusted. They're all working properly. I cleaned them just to make sure. Look at this one. On the top of the Playfield, you have these mushroom bumpers that look like so. Okay, and when the ball rolls up under them, it hits them. Where did it go? I've lost it. Where are we? It hits them, and it pushes this up a little bit. You can see it can actually come way up, but you know the ball is just going to make it do this. And Bally called those they're mushroom bumpers, and the way they work is they have a spring inside of them, and so the end of the bumper part is pushing the spring, the switch apart, actually. And so when you push up on it, it allows the switch to close. It's very unique. And there's no action to kick the ball back away like there is with a pop bumper. You know, on a pop bumper, the ring comes down and hits the ball and knocks it away. But on these, they don't have that. It just bounces off that rubber ring. Those all seem fine. And then here you've got the double wound coils again on the pop bumpers. I don't really know why they did that on the pop bumpers, but that's what they did back then. You've got a left thumper bumper relay, a center thumper bumper relay, and can you guess? Yep, that's right. It's the right thumper bumper relay. Switches to roll over, lights to turn on. We messed with the lights on the previous video. This is the ball gate. Looks remarkably just like the flippers, basically. And then this is the out hole kicker. But it appears everything was kind of fine. I just cleaned all the switches. Now, we had a problem on the previous video where we played it a little bit, and then it kind of locked up after we got a bunch of points and wouldn't really do much. So hopefully cleaning all this has corrected that problem, but who knows? So I'm going to lay the Playfield back down and we'll try to play a little game and see what kind of problems pop up. I'll make a list of them and then we'll see if we can systematically solve those problems. So I think the first thing we'll work on is this shooter is all screwed up. So when you pull on it, it's real rough. The spring's obviously all screwed up. I don't know what happened. But that's easy to fix. Now the customer wants us to keep the patina. This was in his father's store, and he used to play it all the time when he was a little boy. So he likes that it looks old and messed up. He just wants it to play. So that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to take this apart and put a new spring on it and clean it up, but I'm not going to try to make it look new. I never really do anyway, but I'm not here either. So the way you take it apart is there's just a little E-clip, C-clip, something like that clip right there that comes loose. Easy peasy. So you can see what's happened. The spring has broken in half and then it kind of twisted around itself and got all screwed up. And this shooter rod is pretty, there's some kind of gunk on it that's all dried up, so it's making it where it can't push through the bearing in the front very well, which is a metal bearing. You can actually clean stuff like this pretty easily just by putting oil on it. So a little bit of 3-in-1 oil will clean it right up. I think I'm going to leave the old spring. These springs are only like 30, 40 cents, but I'm going to leave the old one on it just so it still looks old. The rest of it looks old. But I'll put a new one on the inside, obviously, because this one's broke. All right, so who knows what size spring that's supposed to be? There's about 4 or 5 different sizes of shooter rod springs. But so I just put in kind of like a average one. They're different strengths and stuff, and it seems to be, that seems about right to me. And I oiled the thing so it moves really nice. Now I could put one of these on the outside, but the whole thing is, if you do that, with that looking brand new and shiny, it's going to make everything else look all screwed up, So I don't know. I think I'd just rather leave it how it is. Okay, let's see if we can play it. All right, so we haven't messed with the back glass yet. We haven't messed with the light bulbs in the back box yet, but we'll see if it'll play. I don't know how you turn the lights on this one. I guess you just hit start. Ball and play 1. There are 2 pumpkins on, which is where we left it. The flippers are working. But last time, this is how it was, and nothing else was scoring. So let's see. It did go back to 0 on the scores, though. Ooh, spring might be a little strong. They'll get used to it. Yeah, see, look, nothing's scoring. Okay, cool. We can figure that out. Nothing scoring, and it's still on ball and play 1. All right, so we're going to have to do this the hard way. I don't have the harvest schematics yet. They're on the way, but they're not here yet. The schematics were inside of it, and a rat had ate them all up. You couldn't read anything. There was just little pieces of them left. So what we're looking at is online we have the Bally Grand Tour schematics. So Grand Tour was the one-player game before Harvest. So if you're going to try to do this, use the wrong schematics, you kind of need to go, or at least in my opinion, if you're working on a one-player game, you kind of need the same schematics for a one-player game, or if it's a two-player game, the two-player game, because there's a little bit of differences. But this is the one-player game that was just a couple months before Harvest from the same company. It probably works really similar. So the first thing I want to figure out is, what do the pumpkins mean on the back glass? So if you look on this one, again, this is the wrong schematics, it shows a number 1 through a number 10 lit up by the advance unit disc. Now, there's no 1 through 10 on Grand Tour. However, on Grand Tour on the back glass, there are 10 pictures of cities. So there's like, Paris, London, and it lights up at some way, and it must be this advance unit that's doing it. This is not the match unit. The match unit is displayed on here as well. 0 to 9 match unit. So this would light up at the end of the game to show you if you matched or not. Right? So the only other thing on here is this advance unit, and there is no bonus ladder or anything on the playfield. So this must be what turns on that. Right? So there's 2 different things. There's the advance reset relay. If it comes on, that would light all of those lights. See how the lights can't get power if that advance reset relay switch is open. So that must either stay closed or pull closed. And then it looks like, depending on what position the advance unit disc is in, it will light up different lights. Okay, so we need to figure out what makes the advance unit disc advance. Okay, so here on the schematics it says advance unit step up solenoid, which is what would make that unit advance, and it happens whenever a switch closes on the score motor, which is going to happen every time the score motor is turning, and then when the advance relay pulls in. So if the advance relay pulls in, when the score motor turns, that switch will close and it will step up the solenoid. Ours appears to be on position 2, right? So the advance relay has pulled in. So what makes the advance relay pull in? Well, if you come over here, there is the advance relay. It is pulled in by the tour gate relay and the tour gate rollover switch. So on Grand Tour, again, it's the wrong game. What makes the tour gate relay pull in? Well, it can either be pulled in by the top center rollover switch, would pull in the Tor gate relay, which would then, if you hit the Tor gate switch, it would step up turn on the advance relay, which would turn on the advance unit and step up solenoid. And then it looks like there's another way to do it through the mushroom trip switches. Number 4, number 3, number 2. Looks like you can do it several ways. So it looks like this probably works very similar to ours, because we also have 4 or 5. I think we've got 5 mushroom trip switches on the Playfield. So it's time to read the instructions on the on the Playfield card and see if it explains it. So here's Grand Tour. You can see all of the little cities on the back glass. And over here it says, Tor gate delivers free ball, scores 100, lights next city in 1 to 10 carryover feature. Plenty of extra balls and 25 ways to score points. Ensure strong play appeal, top earning power. Get Grand Tour going for you now. You've probably never even heard of it, but yeah, they were trying everything back then. So it's a carryover feature on Grand Tour. What a carryover feature was, if you don't know, if you walk up to the game and 8 of the cities are lit up, well, you know that if you can just light up 2 more of them, you win a free game. So it was a way to entice people to play the game that might just be walking by or something, right? And it literally carries over from game to game. So somebody could come up and play and get 9 of the cities lit, and he's 1 away from getting a new, getting a 10th city and winning a free game, and somebody else walks up and plays it after they leave and immediately wins a free game. And if you think about it, that's very similar to casino type stuff, which Bally, of course, was heavily involved in, and still is, by the way. All right, so here's Hayride's flyer. It says, light ALL. Now there are 5 mushroom targets, BALLY. Light ALL to open the free ball gate. That's the one down on the right. Yeah. Light BALL or ALLY to open the gate, and also light the star, which is key to the holdover feature, scoring up to 3 specials. Light Bally to open the gate, light the star, and also light the special at the bottom left rollover. Targets reset when the ball enters the out hole, challenging a player to 1 ball skill. Gate can be opened by lighting all or crossing the top rollover when lit. When the gate is opened by a rollover hit, player has entire playfield from top to bottom to flipper finagle and juggle ball towards and through gate. No wonder players, I should read this in a different voice. Okay, here we go. I'm going to perform. Gate can be opened by lighting ALL or crossing top rollover when lit. When gate is opened by rollover hit, player has entire playfield from top to bottom to flipper finagle and juggle the balls towards and through gate. No wonder players call Harvest and Hayride the most exciting and strenuous flipper workout in years. Get Harvest busy for you today. Order Hayride for Add-a-Ball operation. All right, so we got to figure out why it's not kicking the ball out. So the way it kicks the ball out is this ball return relay comes on. And if you follow it up, that switch has to be closed for the ball return relay to come on. Are we on the right one? Did I lose it already? Yeah, okay. Let's follow it up. Ball return relay. That switch has to be closed on the score motor. And then the out hole switch. So the ball lands in the out hole, it will kick the ball back out. Now, if you think about it, at the beginning of the game, it did kick the ball out. But nothing is scoring on the playfield. Okay? So if you go along, the pop bumpers and everything are working. See these little... See how this line is jumping over the other lines? That's because they're not actually connected. So here is the 50-point relay. So the 50-point relay is not working. We're not scoring 50 points. Also, the 10-point relay is not working. And then see the line goes on. And the 100-point relay is not working. And then it moves along some more. And the 1-point relay is not working. So none of that is working. And they're all attached to this one line. And that line is connected to the power with this switch, which is at 2B on the score motor. Switch 2B on the score motor. And one side of it is color 74.5, whatever that is, and the other side is color 70, whatever that is. So I need to find that switch and see if that switch has a problem. Now, why would it kick the ball out at the beginning of the game but not after you start playing the game? It's because there's more than one home position on the score motor. So let me see if I can find that switch and if it's screwed up the way I think it is. I think what's going on is when it's in one home position it works, and when it's in another home position it's not quite closed. That's my theory, at least. I may be wrong. Okay, so 74.5 means orange and green, and then the 5 means that that's the 5th orange and green wire in the game. They're all over the place. Right? And 70 means orange and no trace. So just orange. So it's switch 2B. So if you look, there's a 4 under those. There's a 1 under those. There's a 2 under those. So it's this one. And B, they do it from the bottom. So the very bottom's A, this is B, this is C, and then this is D. This is D. So 2B. So it's on this stack. And it's the switch where one of the switches has an orange wire and one of the switches has an orange and green wire. So if you look, there's one set of switches with a red and a white and a blue. It's kind of hard to see. And then if you look next to it, there's an orange and green. I know that's kind of hard to tell that's green, but it is. Orange and green and orange. And so that's that next switch. So there's 2 sets of switches on this stack. And if you look very carefully, it's that outside switch there. Wow, look how the top of it is physically screwed up. I wonder how that happened. Okay, so if you carefully look, you can see it through the top switches without taking everything apart. It's that switch right there in the middle of your screen. So is that closed? Is the game off? The game, it is off, but if I turn this, it's going to turn it on, I think. Okay, maybe it'll just turn. So look at that switch. That is closed bigger than hell. But it's not open. Perhaps it needs to open. That's the... Whoa! So it's that switch right there. When I turn this, it should open and close, but it looks like it's just staying open. Oh yeah, it opened and closed just for a second there, so it did what it was supposed to do. But oh yeah, you can tell, it's not quite closing. Yeah, see there, it's stuck open in the home position. So in that position, nothing would score. Let's test it. Let's test it, shall we? So we're still up and running. Nothing scoring because that switch is open. So see how there are 3 little indentions here? That's because there's 3 home positions on this. It only needs to turn a third of a turn to get back to its home position. So depending on what the score motor is trying to accomplish in the game, it may only turn from one home position to the next. It only may turn a third. So if it's on this home position, that switch is stuck open. See it? That's open. Because that's open, nothing will score. So let's turn it and see if it closes it, and then the scoring works. See, there it would be closed. Yeah, see how that kind of bounced? That's not really closed. You see? Yep. So if I move it just a little bit, that is closed. So I think it'll probably score right now. No, it won't either. Maybe because we turned it, it shut something else that it needs open. Yeah, see, in this position, the flippers won't work either. All right, let's turn it. Let's try it one more time. You saw how I turned it a little farther past home, right? So that's what screwed it up. Okay.
So that's the home position, and that looks like it's probably shut. And so in that position, yeah, nothing's working. Well, that's because we were off. We're not in gameplay right now. Let's try to restart it. So the ball was stuck on the mushroom bumper. So right now it's scoring. So let's do our thing where we turn it until it opens and see if that's our problem. Okay, so see how that bounced open and it looked like it didn't quite shut back? Flippers are still working, but scoring is not working. Okay, so if I had an extra hand, okay, so here's what I'm gonna do. I'm going to set the camera on the tripod, and then I'm going to hit both of I'm gonna use one hand to push the switch in a little bit, and another hand to hit the scoring and see if that confirms it. All right, so it's 20 seconds later. It's been 20 seconds. So I showed you that switch. I'm just gonna push it in a little bit to make sure that it's closed. Try not to get electric killed. Okay, so I'm pushing that in. And now the scoring works. If I let go of it, the scoring still works, but it's probably because I moved it, bent it a little bit. But I think for sure that's our problem. So that switch is just misadjusted. Okay, so part of the problem is it's been a little mangled. See how the switch blades go in and they're bent way out? See how they're bent way out? They're not straight. If you look at this top one, they're pretty straight. Now this one's pulled in right now, but watch when we go to the home position. Okay, so inside of that, well, I guess it's not home position, but inside of that divot, see how they're pretty straight? That's its unactuated position, but look at the bottom one. It's not like that. They're all bent way out, and it's not hitting anything. So when you turn it, nothing's hitting it, and whenever something finally does hit it, it just barely pushes it because the things are bent out so far. If they were farther in, when it pushed it, it would push it way out and then let it come back in. It's just, they shouldn't be way out there. It's just basically just barely bumping it, and that's screwing it all up. So they need to be way in, and then there needs to be more travel in it. So I'm going to bend all of those switch blades back in farther to get it where it's aligned better. Okay, this is looking from the other angle after I've adjusted it. So I'm going to move it. The power is off. So just to be clear, this switch, see how it's touching, this long blade is touching the small blade in there. So I've bent it back straight, and by doing that it's underneath this, so you can't see it from the top very well. But as the score motor turns, it's going to get right to basically its last position, and see how it's starting to push it open? There is a bar right here, see that rivet? That's a bar, and it's on a cam inside that's starting to open that switch stack. So watch the long blade come apart from the small blade. See, it pushes it open, and then at the very end, wow, it opened. Now as soon as it gets by that rivet, which is right there, there's a bar running all the way through. As soon as it gets by that, it's going to snap that back closed. Bam! Now it's good and closed. So you see the amount of travel I've got in it now? So it's closed all through there, and just at the end it opens it. So that's the whole problem. So that's the kind of stuff you're looking for. So you're looking for it to be able to move a lot if it's got the room. Now if it doesn't have the room, you know, in some of these other relays, you can't do that. It just moves just a little tiny bit, and there's no way to make it have a lot of travel. But on these score motors, there's all kinds of travel. So you need it to be nice and closed and nice and open. You can't have it where it's closed all the time and then just barely opens and then doesn't quite touch when it goes back and all that. It's just sloppily adjusted. Let me show you from the top so you can see how straight it is now. So it's down in there so you can barely see, but see how I've got it a lot more straight now? They're not perfect, but they were way out here. right? So that should fix it. So the whole problem was in some of the home positions that switch wasn't closing back, and in some of them it was. So sometimes it would kick the ball out at the beginning of the game, but not necessarily while you were actually playing the game. Okay, so one of the things that determines where it stops at the home position is it opens a switch that kills the power, but the motor can keep running. It'll run on a little bit. So that's what that brake switch is for that we were looking at. You know, that was sticking in there, and I was saying, well, it looks like it's working, so we'll leave it. Well, now it kind of looks like it's not working because you saw how that thing wasn't quite stopping how it should. So I've got this one, which I believe is the same part, but a new one. So this one they've obviously made. See how they've bent it? So we're going to try putting this in there. It could just be as simple as this is bent too flat so it doesn't grab it at just the right spot or something. So we're going to replace this old one with this one and see if that gets us going again. Okay, so when I took that switch apart, I found the old piece of the switch inside of that stack there. So I put it in, but look at what's going on. There's something interesting here. When you turn this, the way it works is it's going to turn until this opens, which opens a switch on here that kills the power to the score motor. Watch. See how that falls in that hole? The switch opens and that's killed power to it. The brake has grabbed this post. You see that rivet there? That's a post. The brake has grabbed that post, but those switches that we've been adjusting are now open. So they had moved that way out because they were trying to keep them where they were closed all the time, basically. Right? So those are open right now, which means none of the scoring is going to work when the score motor is in the home position. That's not how it's supposed to be. Those should be closed again. There's a little clue though. Look at this. Why is that screw so long? It's because somebody has screwed around with it. Now, the way that that opens and closes is there's an actuator just like this one. See the actuator there? It's hitting a bar down inside of it just like this one's hitting a bar on the top. So I'm wondering if they've swapped that actuator with the wrong one where it's opening and closing those switches at the wrong place. In we go. So I've moved this top switch stack off. Now we're down to this one. See how that screw is way too long? So somebody's been in here. And if you look, that first blade is the actuator. And sure enough, it's the wrong damn one. Somebody's replaced it. See the rivet on the end of it there? Because it's a switch. So they rebent a switch to be the actuator. And that's why this thing is all screwed up. It's because they've been in there screwing around with it. So that's the wrong piece, which means that switch is never going to open in the right spot. What's probably happening is because of that rivet, it's pulling on this too much and it's just getting jammed there, right? And so the brake is supposed to let it go a little bit farther. Yeah, this fell open, but as soon as it fell open, it stopped because that switch is stuck on that, basically. And if you keep turning, it should have went to about there, which would have allowed that to shut, right? So it's the wrong actuator. But it sucks because it's got that little lift on it. Well, damn, sorry about the focus. It's got that little lift on it. Oh, no, it don't. It's on this one. Okay, cool. Yeah, so I'm just going to swap it with one of the ones that looks like this one. They're different lengths, so you're supposed to use the exact one, but I mean, I got to do what I got. I guess I could just model it after this one. This one here is going to be doing the same thing. Okay, so I have taken one of the other switch stacks off of the machine. And the reason for that is because, well, I'll show you. This actuator is a certain length. And depending on the length of it, it's going to change when the switch is open. So this is the one that I was using as the brake. And it's hard to see, but it is actually, it's in the wrong spot. It's too long. The hump should be before where it is. So that one won't work. And so this is the one that the guy made that was in there. And you see his ain't right either. It's almost right, but because it's got that flat spot on it, it holds the switches open for too long. So what I'm going to do is I'll see if I can bend this one up to where it more closely matches that one. and it'll allow those switches to close quicker, and it'll work properly. So that's what we're going for. Okay, so that's much closer to how it's supposed to be. So let me mount it back in and see if it's finally going to get it to stop at the right spot. All right, so I think I've got it adjusted right. Made the new one, put it in there. You can't see that one that we were looking at very well, but you can see this one. Opens and closes, opens and closes, opens and closes, opens and closes. I think it's good. So that's that. Crazy little score motor problem. They had replaced 2 of the actuators and they were both just not quite right. So we'll see if it'll start up. I guess we'll start from power off. Good old kick switch on the bottom. Let's see if she'll start up and if it'll play a game. Okay, we're ball in play 1. It kicked the ball out. Flippers work. That did open the gate like it's supposed to. Ball in play 2. It reset some things twice. It's probably not supposed to do that. See, that time it only reset once. Ball in play 3. This might be switches up there on the top that aren't working right because of the rubber rings. The flippers are plenty strong enough for the 2-inch ones. And the kickers are nice. I mean, that's all you can hope for from a 2-inch flipper. To go back up near the top like that, that's all you're going to get. That maybe was supposed to shut the gate. Okay, the end of the ball shut the gate. And we did not get a number 3 on our harvest. The 3rd pumpkin didn't happen. That was ball 4, by the way. This is ball 5. Okay, and it went to game over, and it reset the Bally thing, but we still have 2 pumpkins. Okay, so yeah, I think everything's cool. But, you know, you get the pumpkin, we figured out, whenever you win a game. So, all right, so there you go, folks. I think we're going to have to do one more video, though, because we haven't done the lights in the back glass. We haven't clear-coated the back glass, and we haven't checked out everything on the Playfield. It seems like some of the stuff's working, and I want to check to see when the gate is supposed to close, if it only closes when the ball goes in the out hole, or if it's supposed to close when you go in the lane there, or if that was supposed to give us the pumpkin, or what was going on. So we'll have to do one more. So I hope you enjoyed it so far. Leave your comments below. Make sure to give us a thumbs up for taking the trouble to film it for you. Make sure you check out my brother Donnie's channel. He has a channel here on YouTube as well. I'm over there with him a lot. We work on arcade games, pinball machines, and jukeboxes on, well, not jukeboxes much anymore. We're putting those on a side channel y'all don't know about yet, unless you're intuitive. We do arcade games and pinball machines on this channel. And on Donnie's channel, we work on old buildings, old mobile homes, and he has a farm. So make sure you check that out. I'm over there with him a lot. But if you love these old EM pinball machines, check out this video. I think you'll like it.